This is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present. I'm Tim Kurt.
And I'm Roland Fulis.
And today we are kind of getting back to our past and present format a little bit. We're going to review AEW's Revolution pay-per-view, and then we'll also give you our predictions for Elimination Chamber, which is coming up tomorrow.
Disclaimer, neither one of us watched the actual Revolution pay-per-view. I saw a lot of the matches after the fact, and Tim saw some of it. We have an idea of what happened and how they happened. We saw the highlights, but we didn't see the actual matches for everything. So just a disclaimer that we're going to go over it. We do have a little bit of insight in a couple of the matches, and we'll just give you what our opinions are on how they booked it and where they're going from there, too, we think. So
yes, absolutely. Well, let's get started here. The first match was a dark match. You had Dr. Britt Baker and Penelope Ford getting a win over Rio and Yuka Sakazaki, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Easy for you to say.
Yes. This match went a little over 8 minutes. Again, being a dark match, we don't really have much to go off of here. What happened?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they continue the Britt Baker heel turn,
Yep.
and there was probably some stuff in there that kept that going. I would imagine. Maybe she made fun of Tony Schiavone some more. I don't know. But I would imagine that's what it was. I mean, Rio was the former women's champion, so you get a win over her to make Britt Baker look like the strong heel. It makes sense.
And then the match on the pre-show was the Dark Order, which was Evil Uno and Stu Grayson defeating SCU, which is represented by Frankie Kazarian and Scorpion Sky. Again, didn't see this match, but I mean, I don't think there's many bad SCU matches, so I imagine this one, was pretty good. It's been about 9.5 minutes.
Yeah,
here.
I mean, I feel like this match could have led the pay-per-view off. I've been a mark for Daniels and Kazarian for a long time, and Sky joining the group somewhat recently. He can go really well too. So I mean, anything that they do is usually a high energy type of match. I mean, and Kazarian's pushing 40 now, and he can still do a lot of stuff. For a guy that's been in the business that long. So it was probably a very entertaining match. We're still waiting to see who the Exalted one's going to be.
Yeah, there's big rumors that it might be Matt Hardy.
At first they teased it could be Daniels.
Yep.
It's interesting.
So we kick off the actual show with Jake Hager making his AEW debut, getting a win over Dustin Rhodes by submission. This match went just under 15 minutes. I actually did see this one. This one, I actually thought was a pretty good, solid opening match. I think Dustin Rhodes is having some of his better matches in his career right now.
He is arguably in the best shape of his life at 50.
Yeah.
You go back and look at some of the WWF times when he was Goldust, and he was, a little pudgy. Yeah. He's not pudgy anymore. He's a ripped, in good shape, 50-year-old man right now. And he's doing some great stuff. He's definitely reinvented himself. I know he does DDPY. I know stuff like that's helped keep him young. I mean, Jericho can attest to the same thing at his age, still going and doing all the stuff he does. It was interesting to see Hager finally get in the ring. I know they were protecting him a little bit because of his MMA stuff. Mm-hmm. They had that one spot where, for whatever reason, Hager kept making out with his wife. It was weird. So then Dustin goes over and kisses her. Yeah. And, they had that kind of cool spot. But it was neat to see. This had an old school wrestling match ending to it, where it was essentially almost like a bear hug. I mean, it was a chokehold, but it felt like he was standing in the middle of the ring with a bear hug on him.
Yeah, almost an old school kind of sleeper kind of finish.
It was a neat way to finish it. Obviously, this is not done by any means.
No. Kind of a predictable outcome, though. I think it was kind of predictable that Hager was going to go over. In this match.
I mean, I don't see Hager losing a lot, anyways.
No,
I mean, I just don't. He is one of their higher pushed guys that they paid a lot of money for him. They're not going to squash him. Why would they?
So our next match here, you had Darby Allin getting a win over Sammy Guevara, two of AEW's kind of younger stars there. Match went 5 minutes, also a little misleading, but there was a lot of stuff before the match going on too. Yeah. There was a table spot and everything before the match. I thought this match was really good. These two are really exciting. They're really good performers. So I was pretty entertained by this match.
Yeah, I was not shocked by the outcome. I mean, they were playing that Darby's coming back to get revenge on the whole Inner Circle. And the ending part where, Darby gets the win with the coffin drop. And then he teases the throat skateboard angle, and Hager comes out and saves him. So it does what they're supposed to do. It makes Inner Circle kind of look like a cowardly group that they're not going to attack unless they're ready and they have numbers. And Darby Allin right now is probably one of the top names in AEW popularity-wise. It's hard to argue that.
Oh, yeah.
So you obviously got to keep him going.
Next match, probably the match of the night. You had Kenny Omega and Adam Hangman Page getting a win over the Young Bucks. This was a tag team match for the World Tag Team titles.
This match was insane.
Yeah, absolutely.
We both saw this one. It's all over YouTube. Yeah. Again, legally, illegally, whatever. This match was amazing.
It was amazing. Plenty of time here. Went about a half hour long. Lots of false finishes. Lots of high spots.
There was one of the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega both got injured in the match.
Yep.
Because of the moves they were doing. It wasn't anybody's fault. It was very high impact. In the match, and you can tell when you're working with friends, and I know people like Shawn Michaels when he worked with Triple H, like you had this, you knew you were going to lay it in. You're going to lay it in just as thick as you with anybody if you had your friend in there. So they were laying some stuff in. It was a great match.
Yeah,
easily the best match on the card.
Absolutely. If you can find it somewhere, go out of your way and watch this match.
And like I said, that was one of the things that we were able to do was we were able to find them on YouTube. Luckily, some of them were removed, but luckily we were able to watch a lot of them before they were. This one was hands down, like Tim said, we saw the whole thing, and this match was insane. It was
Absolutely.
a great match.
Great match. Your next match was a singles match for the AEW Women's title. You had Nyla Rose getting a win over Chris Statlander, the Alien. This match went about a little under 30 minutes.
I feel bad for Chris Statlander, where this is now her second chance at the title, and they've kind of bashed her, squashed her both times.
Yeah.
It wasn't a squash per se, but they get her kind of built up as a character that is believable as a woman's wrestler, as a contender, and then both times they've beaten her. Yeah. Once was Rio, and this past time with Nyla Rose. So
yeah, but I think this is kind of a predictable outcome. I think they're really trying to build Nyla Rose up here.
Well, yeah, and that was the build with the Rio thing too. Is that they built because originally that's who Rio beat.
Yeah.
To be the champion, so you knew where they were going with that, but it's unfortunate because Chris Statlander is a very good women's wrestler, and it's unfortunate she was used that way. But yeah, you get it. It is what it is.
Next up, we have a singles match here with MJF with Wardlow getting a surprising win to some probably, getting a win over Cody Rhodes with Arn Anderson and Brandy Rhodes. This match went about 25 minutes. I kind of like the outcome of this match. MJF punched him with the diamond ring that he won earlier in the year. So he kind of cheated to win, but I kind of like the surprising outcome of MJF going over here.
Yeah, he had it in his trunks. It was one of those, typical heel spot where, kind of like the inner William Regal, pulling the brass knucks out kind of type thing. But it makes sense, too, because at least he didn't win clean.
Yeah.
It got the point across. He's a heel. He's going to do what he needs to do to win. And it wasn't a bad match. I saw most of this match. There was a lot of highlights and stuff from this match. I didn't see the whole match in its entirety. But from what I did see, it was a pretty good match. MJF, easily the most hated person probably in all of wrestling right now.
Did you see what he did to that kid?
At a photo shoot. There was a picture of him flipping off like a 7-year-old kid or a 10-year-old, whatever. He was a young kid. And his dad was actually upset about it.
Oh, yeah.
And Cody has defended it, saying that, it was a paid meet and greet, and that Max is irresponsible and immature, and we wouldn't send him on a free one because he wouldn't represent the company the way they wanted to. So definitely he can get heat from flipping off a kid.
Yeah.
He is probably the biggest heel in any part of wrestling right now.
I totally agree.
And he can wrestle too. That's the nice thing. He's not. You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me a lot of Mr. Kennedy.
Oh, okay.
When he first came up and he was that brash, cocky kind of, he kind of reminds me. Obviously, I think he's a better wrestler than Kennedy was. Sorry, but I feel like he kind of reminds me of that cocky, wow, this guy's a dick.
Yeah,
and that's what he's supposed to be. So,
I think though the most noteworthy part of this match was Cody Rhodes' new neck tattoo.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's taking the internet by storm. Curious placement of the tattoo. You can get a tattoo wherever the hell you want, but putting it on the side of your neck, probably as big as your fist, I don't know. It's a cool looking tattoo. I just think the placement is horrible. Why wouldn't you just get it on your chest or your arm or It was definitely random. He shows up at Revolution with a neck tattoo. So.
And I do just want to kind of go off topic a little bit here. If you happen to see the episode of AEW Dynamite this week, Cody Rhodes comes out to cut a promo and was interrupted by Jake the Snake Roberts. And Jake the Snake Roberts can still cut a promo. That was one of the best, probably, promos by anybody I have seen in years.
Yeah, from calling Cody Caesar right off the bat too. It's interesting to see how this company is using some of the veteran guys.
Yeah,
and he even referred to Arn Anderson as a one-trick pony.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely a very interesting, very moving. It was like a 3-minute promo.
Yeah,
and we haven't discussed this at all, Tim and I, but I think it's Brody Lee.
Which is Luke Harper.
Yes,
for those
I think that's his client. That's my guess.
I kind of going along the same lines as well. Yeah. If you for the context, Jake the Snake Roberts said he had a client to take out Cody Rhodes,
and he didn't want he didn't want the whole pie. He just wanted Cody's share. So it was definitely a great promo.
And he ended the promo by saying, somebody told him that you don't turn your back on somebody you respect or you're afraid of, and then he ended up turning his back.
And threw the microphone over his shoulder.
Over his shoulder. It was go out of your way to watch that promo.
I know fantastic. It was on the AEW Facebook page.
Yeah.
If you go to the watch section of Facebook, you can find it just by typing in AEW. It's there. I showed a guy actually at work the promo.
And good for Jake the Snake Roberts too, because I know we're getting off topic, but he's been through a lot.
Yeah, he was in a really dark place. I mean, Diamond Dallas Page, for all intents and purposes, probably saved his life.
I agree.
Same with Scott Hall. Again, going off topic. Scott Hall was on TV last night.
Yep.
Doing his famous, hey, yo, and it still got over as if it was 1998, So, and then that's another interesting thing, too, the way they did that. But, I mean, we'll get into that, hopefully, with the Elimination Chamber thing. We might talk about that a little bit. But, it was really a cool moment. It brought me back to my day, to when I first started watching wrestling.
All right. Well, we'll get back to the pay-per-view here. 2 more matches to go through.
Yeah, a little sidebar never hurt
nothing. So next up we have Pac, the former Neville in WWE, getting a win over Orange Cassidy by submission.
Bastard Pac. Bastard. And speaking of AEW, the Pac and the Lucha Brothers are now in a stable.
Yeah.
They are in the Death Triangle, whatever the hell that means. But, anyways, this was Orange Cassidy's debut match in AEW. I have, from the get-go, I didn't know what it was all about. His gimmick to me, I thought was stupid. I'll tell you what, he made a believer out of me wrestling-wise. I still think the gimmick's a little dumb.
Yeah.
But wrestling-wise, some of the stuff he did with his hands in his pockets.
Yeah.
And I know that was the thing about his shtick is that. But, I mean, he had a pretty damn good match against a really good wrestler in Neville, Pac. And, it was a great match.
And then we have our main event of the evening for the AEW World Title. Jon Moxley will get a win over Chris Jericho to become the new champion. This match went a little over 22 minutes.
Le Champion is no longer the champion.
Although he says he is. He says he doesn't need a belt to be a champion.
Yeah. I wonder if he had a little bit of the bubbly afterwards just to soak his wounds.
Maybe.
He had a lot of bit of the bubbly that night.
I think this was a good. I think it was good to change the belt here. Chris Jericho's had it for a while. I think, they've been building up Moxley kind of slowly here. So I think it was the right time to make the title switch here. And but it also allows, they did it in a way where the feud can continue.
Well, and some of it is, too, like if you're going to strap a rocket to somebody's back, you're not going to crash it, too. So you kind of either have more to go, which, I mean, they've done so much already, you don't want it to get stale either. Like, I mean, look at the storyline with Lana and Rusev and all. It was a bad storyline to begin with, but they just keep doing it. And it's just stupid. So they were smart enough to make the move now, because then now that gives you options on the back end, like you said. Plus, I don't know if you know this, but Fozzie's getting ready to tour in about a month. They have about a 6-week tour. So I mean, it makes sense. You don't want to be like Brock Lesnar and show up with your title once every 3 weeks, or what month or 2 months or whatever it is. So, A, it keeps the title on TV. B, it puts it on probably the hottest thing that they've produced so far that wasn't theirs. I mean, Moxley, was obviously an independent wrestler before he went to WWE to be Ambrose. So this is really not, their production. Mm-hmm. So, Cody being their production, kind of the Bucks being their production, it's kind of nice that we went that way and they didn't go, okay, he's a champion or Omega's a champion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it shows they believe in him and the fans are back behind him and they did it right.
Absolutely. One thing I want to note, just noting through this pay-per-view, is AEW, they gave all these matches time. There wasn't 1 minute and 30-second matches like you would see with WWE.
Yeah, and even the Darby Allin match, I mean, it says 5 minutes on my thing, but like you said, there was a lot of stuff before that made it,
So definitely thought it was I thought it was a good pay-per-view, especially wrestling-wise.
The one difference, and that was what Moxley said in his promo, is that AEW is the best wrestling company there is. And he stressed the word wrestling because that's what they're letting them do.
Yeah.
They still have some storylines. They do talk a little.
Yeah.
But you can, in a 2-hour show, you can have more wrestling than you had on a 3-hour Raw. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they're just proving the point that they back their support. They back the superstars, the wrestlers. They're not even superstars. They're wrestlers at AEW. And they let them do their work. That's what they're paid to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So
it's definitely refreshing to turn on the TV and watch a 2-hour show and see 7 or 8 matches.
Yeah.
Or see, out of the 2 hours without commercials, it's probably an hour and 40 minutes. I saw an hour and 20-something minutes of wrestling. It's nice. So, WWE, take note. If you really want to make your shows better, I don't care who you put on them, but have people that can wrestle.
Wrestle the matches.
Right, exactly. Don't start your show with a 20-minute promo. Mm-hmm. It's dumb. Start off with something that's going to get the crowd into it and get them going.
All right, so let's transition here to Elimination Chamber. This is taking place tomorrow. The card, it could be considered a little underwhelming.
Yeah, I would say underwhelming is definitely the best way to describe this card. We're also, at this point, going to let Hunter, my son, who made his debut a couple weeks ago, join us and make his predictions to see how bad he'll be or how good he'll be. He might get them all right. We don't know. We thought it would be nice to we give us our predictions. We give ours every time. Mm-hmm. We figure we'll give a kid's predictions and see how it goes.
Absolutely. And if we don't do well, we always have the Royal Rumble to hold our hat on.
Yeah. Once you do that once, exactly.
We have some bragging rights there.
Yep.
All right, let's get started here with the Women's Elimination Chamber match. This is for a match for the Raw Women's title at WrestleMania. Participants you have Natalya, Liv Morgan, Shayna Baszler, Asuka, Ruby Riott, and Sarah Logan. Interesting to note, all 3 members of the former Riott Squad.
And I like what they're doing with that angle. That's one thing I will say I think they got right recently, is they're letting that angle play out a little bit, which is nice. That gives you a little bit more, because going into this, you think Shayna Baszler's going to win.
Yeah.
Like how, at least this way they give you a little bit of side note. There's a little bit of, it's not just, it's interesting because the way they've already had Baszler attack Becky, they've almost planned it already. So, I don't know. I mean, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe there'll be, a second thing here. But at least now you have interest. It interests me. The Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott and Sarah Logan angle added to it does interest me a little bit. I will say that.
Yeah, I still think it's going to be really predictable here. I'm picking Shayna Baszler to win. I think they're setting up the match with Becky. I don't think they're going to throw us a curveball here.
It's hard to think they would, but I mean, WWE does do some weird and different things. I also am picking Shayna Baszler, but it also makes me wonder if they're doing this on purpose.
Yeah.
To swerve everybody.
Maybe.
I don't think they are.
I don't think so either.
But you never know. Hunter, what do you think?
I'm picking Asuka.
Hunter's going with Asuka. So we got Tim and I both took Shayna, and Hunter's going with Asuka.
All right.
So
our next match here, we have Braun Strowman as the Intercontinental title, defending it in a 3-on-1 handicap match against Shinsuke Nakamura, Cesaro, and Sami Zayn. What we're not clear on is if whoever scores the pinfall, are they going to become the champion, or are they automatically going to go back to Shinsuke?
And I asked Tim this earlier when we were doing our predictions. We did them here, but we didn't do them together. We just kind of don't look at each other's paper kind of thing. And I said that. I'm like, we don't know. Originally, this match was supposed to be Shinsuke. Mm-hmm. So, if Cesaro gets the pinfall, does Shinsuke get the belt?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know how that's going to work out, but we'll do our best to give us our opinions here.
Nevertheless, I think I'm going to go with Strowman here. I don't think they're going to end his title reign this quickly yet.
No, I think they have some big plans for him at WrestleMania. I don't know what they are yet, but I think they want him to have the belt going into WrestleMania, so I'm going to say Braun Strowman as well. Hunter, what do you think?
I'm saying Braun Strowman, too.
Okay, can you give us your best Braun Strowman impersonation?
Rawr.
That's it?
That's it?
You do better than that. Come on. There you go.
That's better.
All right, yeah. I was going to say, they can't see you, so waving your hands around ain't going to help.
All right. Next up is an elimination tag team match for the SmackDown tag team titles. Miz and Morrison coming in as champions, putting it on the line against the New Day, the Usos, Heavy Machinery, Lucha House Party, and Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode won a gauntlet match on SmackDown to enter the match last.
I will say I like how the WWE did the match and let Otis and Tucker have pretty much the whole last half hour to show that they can wrestle. They are gimmicky. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's what they are. but they both prove they can wrestle for 30 minutes as bigger guys and still keep going. I mean, Otis, for everything that they do that's funny, I mean, Otis looks ridiculous out there.
Yeah.
He can wrestle, though, but he just looks like you want to just laugh at him. And at least they showed that they both can persevere and wrestle, so it added a little bit more depth to the storyline. Plus, you have the Mandy Rose, Ziggler, Otis triangle of whatever the heck that was.
You have the Usos and Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode too, going back to the Roman Reigns Corbin thing.
Yep, and in New Day and the Usos, they had that promo a couple weeks ago where they said that they mentioned about New Day and the Usos were talking and they were slamming each other, but playfully slamming each other. So there's definitely. This probably be the most intriguing match on the card. Well, I mean, maybe one of the most, I think.
Lucha House Party, I just feel is kind of just thrown in here just to fill a spot. They needed another
16.
So for prediction wise, I'm going to go with Miz and Morrison here. I don't think they're going to take the belts off them quite yet. I think they're going to probably have a pretty substantial reign as champion, just a fairly lengthy reign.
Yeah, I also have the champions retaining. I'm hoping that out of this comes what their plans are for WrestleMania. Maybe, I don't know if it's going to be one of these teams or if there's something else coming, or I don't know. But yeah, I don't see them just ripping the titles off them, right after they got them. So
I'm going with Heavy Machinery.
Hunter's going with Heavy Machinery. He likes, and why do you think Heavy Machinery is going to win this match?
Because they have won against all of them except for Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode.
That's true.
True.
They beat everybody this past week, so we'll see what happens. And Hunter also told me, he thinks that they're big guys and that they should win. Which, I mean, in most cases, that's
true. No, absolutely.
All right.
Next up, we have a tag team match for the Raw tag team titles. You have the Street Profits, the champions going against Seth Rollins and Murphy.
Don't call me buddy.
Don't call him buddy. I'm gonna pick the Street Profits here. I could honestly see them doing another screw job with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens not on the show, they did it on Raw to win the titles. I could easily see them doing it again here. So I'm gonna go with the Street Profits.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be Rollins and Owens at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
So why does he need the tag team titles? And it just doesn't make any sense. I was surprised they put the titles on the Street Profits.
I was too.
A little bit, maybe the Street Profits will feud with the Viking Raiders or maybe even AOP. Maybe this will lead up to AOP and the Street Profits at WrestleMania. But yeah, I agree that the Street Profits are going to retain.
I think Seth Rollins and Murphy is going to win.
Oh, he's going back with the old flip-flop on WWE's, but they're known to do it. They're known to flip-flop, so we'll see where we go. We're going to go with... so Tim and I both had the Profits, and Hunter had the Messiah and his disciple.
I think so far you and I have had the same predictions for all four matches.
I mean, we mentioned it's a little underwhelming, so
yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. This pay-per-view, if you're going to hear it here first, I think this pay-per-view is going to be really bad.
I do too.
I mean, I hope it's not, but I have
some
really
good matches.
Yeah, there's a couple, but I mean, I feel like it's going to be just 3 hours of bleh. But,
if there is going to be a good match on the card, I think this next one will be it. It's
yes.
Aleister Black and AJ Styles in a no disqualification match. I'm going to go with AJ Styles here just for the fact that they're building up to Undertaker at WrestleMania. So if he loses here, it really kind of kills that momentum.
Unless the Undertaker's involved.
And that's what
true. I have on my paper. I have Aleister Black winning this match, and I put Taker on my notes.
Okay.
So I think that Aleister Black's going to win this match, and I think because the Undertaker, I think that Gallows and Anderson will have some involvement, but I also think the Undertaker's going to show up tonight, or tomorrow night rather, and I think that it's going to be the deciding factor because Aleister Black got run through this past week on Monday Night Raw by all three of the guys. He beat the first two, Gallows and Anderson, and I just don't see them doing that again, and I think it makes it more intriguing if AJ gets, because then AJ can come out on Monday and say, "Listen, Undertaker, you beat me here. You screwed me last night. I want you at WrestleMania." That's my thought. That's what I think is going to happen. What do you think, Hunter?
I think AJ Styles is going to win.
Ooh, he's going with the phenomenal one. I'm outnumbered on this one, so this could be the one that makes the pay-per-view for me. We'll see what happens.
Next up, for what seems like the 1,000th time, you have Andrade versus Humberto Carrillo.
I'm waiting for them to put the Zelina Vega on a pole match for that to be because it seems like they're running out of things to do.
I know.
Sorry to cut you off, but yeah. Anyways, continue.
Oh man, I'm gonna go with Andrade here. I mean, I think they really are invested with him. The fact that when he got suspended and they didn't take the belt off of him means that they have high hopes for him. And
he wasn't injured.
I know, right?
Yeah, in case anybody doesn't know, again, we've covered it a little bit, but yeah, he had a wellness violation. He got popped, and usually when that happens, they take the title off the people.
And they didn't here, so that just shows you how much belief they have in him. So I really don't see them taking the belt off of him here. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Carrillo wins, but I'm gonna go with Andrade.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Andrade too. I think, I don't think Vince is really sold on Humberto Carrillo. And I know there's been some different reports come out that he was and then he wasn't. And I think Vince, for whatever reason, really likes Andrade. And I'm not saying that I don't. I just think that, he's the type more than Humberto Carrillo is that Vince would back.
I could also see them doing something with Angel Garza getting involved too, maybe costing Carrillo the win.
Yeah, his real life cousin, and he's in the storyline too. Wondering what. Yeah, he was in. We're having a discussion about where Humberto Carrillo came from. Hunter was a little bit confused. But anyway, yeah, I don't know what else they can do besides have Andrade win.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't see where they go from there.
I'm going with Andrade because I don't think
Humberto Carrillo?
Yeah, is going to win because honestly, I don't think he knows really anything about Andrade yet.
Well, I mean, they've wrestled about 127 times, but roughly. But yeah, so more or less, Hunter's trying to say that he thinks that Andrade will have some trick up his sleeve to keep the title, which I agree with. I totally agree. We all think that Andrade's going to win this one.
And next up we have, and I'm not making this up, you have Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak.
Yes, the Drew Gulak.
The Drew Gulak. They've been kind of building this up for a couple weeks on SmackDown here. I'm going with Daniel Bryan just because, I mean, if he loses to Drew Gulak, I mean, that's just totally killing him. So I'm going to go with Daniel Bryan here.
Yeah, I don't know. It's literally like they don't know what to do with Daniel Bryan after the Fiend storyline. And, I mean, obviously he's not going to face Drew Gulak at WrestleMania. So, obviously there has to be some bigger plan here.
Yeah.
But if Drew Gulak does somehow beat Daniel Bryan, he should just retire.
They know.
I won. Hey, I'm going home. I have all the stats to prove it, and I'm just leaving. But yeah, no, I have Daniel Bryan winning this match too.
I have Daniel Bryan too.
When we were talking about this earlier, Hunter was literally like, "Who's Drew Gulak?" The same thing. What?
Yeah.
He was on 205 Live for a little while. With the cruiserweights. He was one of the guys that got moved in the draft from 205 Live to SmackDown. There's nothing there. No interest for me for the whole Drew Gulak. I count things and I have stats. I get they're trying to give him a gimmick that it's not.
Yeah, it's not working.
No. And he's not a bad wrestler. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, anybody that's here is at the WWE is obviously a good wrestler.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are so many. I know they're trying to give other people opportunities here, but I mean, no. I mean, you could have had somebody like, Apollo or somebody like that, or somebody that they've given some time to that shows they can go. There's other guys that could have used. The next rumor I also did hear, now that I'm remembering, there's some thought that Sheamus might actually be Daniel Bryan's opponent at WrestleMania to revenge that squash loss.
Squash match.
So maybe that's where they're going. Maybe there's some other. I don't know. There has to be something more than just Drew Gulak.
Yeah, it has to be.
Maybe Drew Gulak is literally, going to end up managing Sheamus or I don't know.
Yeah.
But, there's got to be something. There has to be.
Got to be something going on here.
Yeah.
All right, well, that wraps that up. That is our Elimination Chamber predictions. Hopefully, we did pretty well on these.
I'm going to give it a star rating of a 4 out of 10 before even seeing it.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah.
Roland and I are pretty much on the same page with the exception of the Aleister Black AJ Styles match.
Yeah.
Hunter was a little bit different than ours, so he'll probably be right. So we'll see how everything goes. But that is it. So coming up next week, we're going to talk about WrestleMania 18. It is coming up on the next week would be roughly the 18th anniversary of that show. You have Chris Jericho versus Triple H for the world title. That's also the famous Hogan and Rock match where the crowd was absolutely electric.
That was right after the NWO had come back, and Hogan was still technically a bad guy.
Yeah.
One of the most talked about matches still to this day.
Absolutely, I can't wait to get into that match, and I can't wait to actually watch it again too.
Yep.
So that's going to be exciting. That's what's coming up next week, here.
The following week, and not to cut you off, we're also going to stick with the WrestleMania theme. We're going to go with WrestleMania 10.
Yep.
Because that will also be an anniversary.
That would be about the 26th anniversary, if I do my math correctly.
So we're going to do a couple WrestleMania show anniversary. The following week after that, we're going to go with Randy Orton. It's going to be almost his 40th birthday. He was born on April 1st. That'll be the March 28th. And that'll lead us up to WrestleMania. So we figured that was a good way to, Randy Orton being in the business for almost 20 years, his birthday being almost 40. We're going to do a superstar dive on him, and those are the next 3 weeks coming up.
Absolutely, yeah. We're looking forward to lots of good upcoming content for you right here. So we will talk to you next week about WrestleMania 18. Until then, I'm Tim Kurt.
And I'm Roland Fulis.
With Hunter Fulis.
And this is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present.